Welcome everyone to the horror show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Jaime Fuego.
And we are back with another horror movie review. This time we are doing the movie Bait, directed by Kimball Rendell. Did not want to get that one wrong, and there is a shit ton of stars in it, so IMDb that if you want to find out who all these people are, or just watch the review, or watch the movie, better yet. Yeah. So let's get into this one. Jaime, what is Bait all about?
Bait is a very unique twist on the aquatic killer, I guess. Cecil and I are both big fans of creature stuff, you know, like big old monsters chomping on people, but especially of the water-based variety.
Yes, 100%, absolutely. And this one, it starts off, you know, it gives you about 25 minutes of backstory with characters and setting it all up, and eventually it gets all the characters into a grocery store in a coastal town that sits above a parking garage. Yep. And when all of these characters are there, basically what happens, what's the catalyst for the movie, is there's an earthquake that they barely feel, and it sends a tidal wave into the coast. Absolutely. Yeah. And the movie actually does an interesting thing early on. During that 25-minute setup, you hear a television station talking about how the coast is full of sharks because there's a pod of whales swimming by, and they're being chased by all these great white sharks, so be careful if swimming. And of course, then the tidal wave happens, and so what happens? There's basically two groups of people. Mm-hmm. One set of people trapped inside the grocery store when it's being flooded because basically a giant Jeep or something has smashed through the door and is blocking the way out. Yep. And then in the parking garage, another group of people are trapped in the flooded parking garage, also with no way out.
Yeah. And a couple trying to get down, and
then
there's some other kid who was fighting with his girlfriend, and, you know, all subplot, obviously.
Exactly. But what's the big problem is they're trapped in these flooded areas, and both one in the grocery store and one in the parking garage, both of them have a single great white shark now swimming around and just waiting for people to do anything.
Big old 12-footer. And they know lots about great white sharks in Australia, which is where this movie takes place. It was the Singapore, Australia, like, crossing of the streams, basically, doing this horror flick together. And, man, all the stuff that can kill you in Australian waters, I'm not surprised that this is the route that they took.
Yeah,
I mean, you got saltwater crocodiles, sharks, sea snakes, the list goes on.
Box jellies.
Yes, exactly right.
But yeah, so basically the movie then becomes, can these people find their way out without becoming food for the great white sharks? And it's interesting because at first they don't even realize that there are any sharks in there. So they're basically trying to figure out what to do, how much damage is there, who's missing.
Get along, because there was conflict going down right before this flood actually
a robbery
happened.
was taking place right when the flood happened. So there's good and bad guys that are trapped together, you know, and stuck, and then they realize that there's a shark swimming around, and they start to get desperate and try and figure out a way out.
The plot thickens.
Exactly. Yeah. So we won't go into too much more as far as the plot goes because then we're entering spoiler territory, but let's go ahead and get into some of the other aspects of the movie. Why don't we start with the acting, Jaime? What did you think of the acting?
Acting was good. I mean, it's lots of Australian, I guess, soap opera actors, lots of younger kids in this of the, you know, I guess, like, tween scare variety, but they all do a solid job. There's, you know, there's lost loves, there's lots of underlying connections, there's a cop and his daughter, there's a few things that seemed a little too convenient at times, just all lining up, but it really smoothly sails stuff from there once they put all these, you know, jagged pieces of characters together. So,
they build up all these relationships that can then get torn apart in this type of situation.
Yep. And teeth of a shark.
Yeah, and I'm not sure which of the actors were Australian and which weren't, but I know that a couple of the actors, if you guys are aware, there was the gentleman that played, I believe his name was Julian, or he was one of the doctors in Nip Tuck.
That's who I recognized instantly.
Yeah, he played Dr. Doom in the Fantastic Four movies that are now going to be defunct because of the new Fantastic Four movie coming out.
Yeah, bring it on, Josh Trank.
And then one of the guys, one of the kids, the one that was trapped in, or one of the ones trapped in the parking garage that was without his girlfriend, was basically the main character in the Chronicle movie that came out a few years ago.
Also Josh Trank.
So there you go. It's definitely a worthwhile movie to check out for the actors. Now let's talk about the effects, of which there were definitely a lot of effects and a lot of CG effects.
Yeah, that's how they did the sharks in this. You know, it can't be like Jaws with a robot all the time.
Yeah, there was some practical sharks and some CG sharks, and you can kind of tell which is which, but the CG sharks weren't so bad that it was really obvious. They did a pretty good job with it.
Yeah.
And then when there were attacks, they would mix it with the practical sharks, and the practical sharks munching on, good gore, good practical gore that they would make up. So
they blended pretty smoothly, whereas in some films, of the lower budget variety, it sticks out like a sore thumb when they transition. So,
yes. Yeah. And the production design I'm going to talk about because I thought it was actually really cool. Once the flood happened and you see the flooded grocery store and the flooded parking garage, they look like, they just looked really genuine and really cool and actually really ominous. Like, I'm the kind of person, I get scared of water that I can't see to the bottom of. I always have.
Same here.
So if I go and I see like a dock that's collapsed into the water that no one's using, that scares me. Even seeing that scares me. Like, how did that happen? What caused that? Like, what creature pulled that dock down and stuff like that?
The unknown aspect of it.
Yeah,
whether
exactly.
What did it or what still could lurk below the depths.
And they play
gives me
that,
chills, man.
Yeah, they play that to the hilt in this movie, and it's a lot of fun because of it. And there's tons of tension. Who's gonna make it, who isn't. There's characters that do just rotten stuff that you wouldn't want anyone to do.
There's one in particular I'm so stoked to discuss for the spoilers.
Absolutely. So
lots of chum to chew on that one.
So you guys, make sure you check out Bait. We don't want to go into too terribly much more because we'll get into spoiler territory. But I did actually want to just mention the music. The music was actually really good in my opinion. I didn't actually really notice it too terribly much until the back half of the movie, at which point it became, a much better crutch for the movie. And I don't mean crutch as in the movie needed a crutch. I mean crutch as in it just helped to support the movie with the music that was coming out. There was driving music when they were getting away. There was, love story music when lovers were reunited. Yeah. And it just was really good all around cinema filmmaking.
Very well crafted, added the urgency when it was necessary, and that's all that you can really ask for a movie that's not music heavy. This porridge was just right.
And if you watch this movie and you thought to yourself, or if you do watch this movie and think to yourself, oh, this is just kind of like maybe an amped up sci-fi movie. Okay.
It's a little bit of everything, though. It's a crime movie to a disaster movie to a horror movie.
No, I mean literally a movie on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because there's a lot of these creature movies on the Sci-Fi Channel, and people might sort of write it off as one of those.
Sharknado.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was Swamp Shark. There's all kinds of Ghost Shark. There's been tons of them.
Yeah, this is a step above, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly the point I was going to make. This is not one of those. This is definitely a step above. They put money into it. The tidal wave sequence is cool. Oh, yeah. The sharks are done really well. The attacks are done better than any of those silly sci-fi movies.
It's not rampant, but when it's there, man, it's some significant killing.
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure you guys check it out. And in the meantime, before you check it out, after you check it out, or while you're checking it out, go to thehorrorshowchannel.com and check that out.
Yeah. And we also have social media sectors we want you to hook up with us on. We've got Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Let us know there in some comments or here on YouTube what your favorite shark movie is.
Yes, exactly. Is it this one? Is it Deep Blue Sea? Is it Open Water? Or, if you say Jaws, fine. That's a little easy.
Just don't say Shark Night.
Just don't say Shark Night. Oh, God, Shark Night 3D was
pretty bad.
Balls. Ugh. Anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. And remember,
stay scared. I am the master of baiting.
Wow.